Hi, today we are discussing about human respiratory system, in that it is called breathing and exchange of gases. Okay, let us have a briefing of previous day discussions, please. The human respiratory system includes external nostrils, nasal chambers, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and lungs. These are the various structures: nostrils, nasal chambers, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, lungs. This is the diagram. This is the entire human respiratory system. Okay, come on, next please. In the previous class, we have discussed up to bronchioles. Okay. In the previous class, already we have mentioned that word pulmonary tree or respiratory tree. What is called pulmonary tree means here trachea, primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, tertiary bronchi, primary bronchioles, secondary bronchioles, tertiary bronchioles, terminal bronchioles, respiratory bronchioles, which opens into clusters of alveoli. The entire structures in inverted condition can be seen in a tree-like structure. That's why it is called as pulmonary tree or bronchiolar tree. Okay, guys. Here in detailed, you see this. This is the trachea. The trachea firstly divided into left and right primary bronchi at fifth thoracic vertebra level. It is redivided into secondary bronchi. It is again divided into tertiary bronchi. Up to here it is called bronchi. The tertiary bronchi is divided into primary bronchioles. It is redivided into secondary bronchioles. Like that tertiary bronchioles means it is in every level it is divided into so many branches. Later it is a terminal bronchioles. So from the trachea to terminal bronchioles, this part is called conducting part. Trachea to terminal bronchioles zone is called as conducting part. Means trachea, primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, tertiary bronchi, primary bronchiole, secondary bronchiole, tertiary bronchiole, up to terminal bronchioles. It is called as a conducting part. Okay, it is helping in the passage of the air. It is not participating in gases exchange. Whereas the respiratory bronchioles are opens into a clusters of alveoli. A clusters of alveoli. Each alveoli is having a alveolar duct and alveolar sac. Like that, a number of alveoli are present like a grapes, a bunch of grapes. Alveoli appears like a bunch of grapes in the lungs. They are called as the clusters of alveoli. Here respiratory bronchioles, alveolar ducts, alveolar sacs, where the gases exchange takes place. It is called as a respiratory part. Means the entire path of respiratory system is divided into two parts. One is conducting part from trachea to terminal bronchioles. The second one is the respiratory part, which includes respiratory bronchioles, alveolar ducts, and alveolar sacs. Okay, this is about pulmonary tree. Come on, please. Next, we discuss about lungs. In the human beings, two lungs are present in thoracic cavity. Suppose this is called thoracic cavity. This is called abdominal cavity. The thoracic cavity and abdominal cavity are separated with the diaphragm. Above diaphragm, this rib cage, the entire unit is called as thoracic cavity. In the thoracic cavity, one pair of lungs are present. The lungs are covered by a double-layered structure called pleura. Double-layered structure is called pleura. In the pleura, outermost layer is called parietal layer, which is attached to the thoracic chamber. The innermost layer is called visceral layer, which is attached to the surface of the lungs. Between the parietal layer and visceral layer, there is a cavity that is called pleural cavity. A thin film-like pleural cavity. This pleural cavity is filled with pleural fluid, which is protecting the lungs from the frictions. Okay? Which is protecting the lungs from the frictions. Which one? The fluid present in the pleural cavity. Already we have discussed in the lungs, pulmonary tree is divided into two parts, conducting part and exchanging part. The conducting part includes external nostril to terminal bronchioles. What is the job of this conducting part? It is helping in the transport of air into the alveoli, and it is also filter the dust particles or foreign particles. Next, it is humidifies the air, as well as it is maintaining the air to the body temperature. Means this is also acting as a natural air conditioner. Which one? Conducting part. Conducting part is filtering the dust and acting as a natural air conditioner, maintaining the air equal to the body temperature. The last part is exchanging part or respiratory part. Here alveoli and alveolar ducts are included, where the gases exchange takes place between the blood and alveoli. That's why it is called respiratory part or exchanging part. These are the various structures of the lungs. Have a look, please. Next slide, please. Now we are discussing about thoracic cavity or thoracic chamber. In the previous slide we have discussed about only lungs. Now we discuss about thoracic cavity or thoracic chamber. This is thoracic cavity or thoracic chamber. Ventral, this is having a sternum. This is the sternum. Dorsal, backside is having a vertebral column. Laterals, we are having ribs. The anterior one is having clavicles and neck muscles. The posterior is having a diaphragm. Like that, all the locations it is closed chamber. That's why it is called as airtight chamber. The thoracic chamber is called airtight chamber as it is closed in all sides. Okay, guys? So, if there is any change in the volume of thoracic cavity, definitely it is reflected in the lungs cavity. Okay? If there is any change in the thoracic cavity, it is directly reflects in the lungs cavity. Okay? Right? The inside of the lungs alveolar region, it is lined with lecithin, which is reducing the surface tension of the alveoli, which avoid collapsing of the lungs. Okay? Lecithin is there, which is present as a lining in the alveoli, which avoids collapsing of the lungs. Okay, this is about airtight chamber, thoracic cavity. Come on, next please. Next, diagrams. We are discussing about external structure of the lungs. These are two lungs, right lung, left lung. Right lung is divided into three lobes: superior lobe, right middle lobe, right inferior lobe. Right superior lobe is separated with middle lobe through horizontal fissure. The middle lobe is separated with inferior lobe through oblique fissure. Like that, the right side lung is having three lobes, the left side lung is having only two lobes. That is left superior lobe, left inferior lobe, both are separated with oblique fissure. The left side it is having only two lobes. Why? Because the left location is occupied by the heart. In this region you can see the heart. That's why it is called as a cardiac notch. Here heart is present, so this curve is called as a cardiac notch. Like that, in total 5 lobes are present in the lungs of the human being. Okay? Here in details, these are ribs. These are the ribs. Cutting of the ribs. Okay guys? Right. This is diaphragm. Posterior part diaphragm. This is a trachea, bronchi, bronchioles. Finally opens into a balloon-like structures. A grape-like structures are called as alveoli. These are called alveoli. Each lung is having a outermost double-layered structure that is called pleura. The outer one is called parietal layer, inner layer is called visceral layer. Two layers are there. Between these two layers, the cavity is called as a pleural cavity. The pleural cavity is filled with pleural fluid, which is protecting the lungs from the mechanical shocks like frictions. Okay guys? See this? These are the ribs. This is the location of diaphragm, which is present in a dome shape. This is the heart. Internally, the bronchi is divided into bronchioles, bronchioles into terminal bronchioles into respiratory bronchioles. They are opens into clusters of alveoli. These are clusters of alveoli. Okay? The lungs are lined with pleural membranes. This is the detailed structure of the lungs. Okay? Have a look. Next slide. Here we are discussing the path of the air. These are nostrils, are opens into nasal chambers. This is mouth, opens into oral cavity. Both nasal chamber and oral chambers are commonly opened into pharynx. The pharynx again having two openings posteriorly, back esophagus, front trachea. Trachea opening with glottis. Glottis is having a lid that is called epiglottis. While swallowing the food, the epiglottis closes the glottis. Later it is larynx, means voice box, trachea, bronchi, primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, tertiary bronchi, bronchioles, terminal bronchioles, respiratory bronchioles. Finally, they opens into clusters of alveoli. These are clusters. These are sac-like structures. Alveolar sacs. These are. They are appearing like a bunch of grapes. These clusters of alveoli are supplied with pulmonary arteries as well as pulmonary veins. Suppose these are the end structures of the lungs. When the air is reached to the alveolar sacs, there gaseous exchange takes place between the alveolar air and capillary blood. Okay, where the gaseous exchange takes place, that is the location. They are called alveoli. The alveoli are richly supplied with capillaries, arteries as well as veins. So here only in this location only this is the end of the lungs. Here only the gaseous exchange takes place between the alveoli and blood of lungs. Okay, this is the detailed structure of lungs. Have a look please. Next, we discussing about respiration in humans involve these 5 steps. Already we have discussed this. Again we have a recap. The first stage is breathing, are called pulmonary ventilation. Breathing or pulmonary ventilation means the gaseous exchange takes place atmosphere to the blood in the alveoli. Okay na? That is called breathing and pulmonary ventilation. The second one is diffusion of gases. From the alveoli, the oxygen is dissolved into the blood. The carbon dioxide is released into the alveoli. That is called diffusion. The third stage is a transport of gases. Oxygen is transported to the all over the body, whereas carbon dioxide collected from the all locations and given to the lungs. That is called transportation of the gases. Next, fourth one is diffusion. A diffusion, internal diffusion. Now the diffusion between blood and tissues. The blood gives oxygen to the tissues. The tissues gives carbon dioxide to the blood. The last one is cellular respiration. In the cellular respiration, the utilization of the oxygen to break the glucose molecules to liberate the energy. That's why it is also called as internal respiration. These are the various stages which are involved in the process of human respiration. Come on, next. Next we are discussing about the mechanism of breathing. We are discussing about the mechanism of breathing. What is breathing? In the breathing, what happens? maximizing the process of gases exchange. The maximizing the process of gases exchange can be considered as breathing. Okay guys, here what happens, air moves from higher concentration to lower concentration. That's why it is called as a pressure gradient. Suppose in the lungs the pressure is low, the atmospheric air enters into the lungs. When the pressure in the lungs increases, the air expelled to the atmosphere. Like that, both side passage of the air depends upon the concentration gradient in the different times. Here, certain muscles are participating to maintaining the pressure levels in the lungs. They are external intercostal muscles. What they are? External intercostal muscles. External intercostal muscles. Internal intercostal muscles. Next, diaphragm muscles. Diaphragm muscles also called as phrenic muscles. The external intercostal muscles contraction lifting the ribs to the upward. Lifting the ribs to the upwards. Ribs as well as sternum also. Whereas internal intercostal muscles contraction pulling down the ribs and sternum. Okay. Next, diaphragm muscles. The diaphragm phrenic muscles are present. The phrenic muscles contraction making the dome-shaped diaphragm comes to the flat. Dome-shaped diaphragm comes to the flat because of the contraction in the phrenic muscles. The mechanism of breathing involves in two stages. They are inspiration and expiration. Inspiration and expiration. Have a look. Pause. Okay guys, next the mechanism of breathing involves two parts, inspiration and expiration. Firstly, we are discussing about inspiration. What is inspiration means? Intaking of atmospheric air into the lungs is called inspiration. Intaking of atmospheric air into the lungs is called inspiration. Inspiration, here it is called as active process. Why inspiration is called as active process means, in inspiration, external intercostal muscles as well as diaphragm muscles also getting contraction. As muscles are getting contraction during the inspiration is called as active process. Here, external intercostal muscles. External intercostal muscles are present between the ribs. In between the ribs, the costal muscles are present, whether it is external intercostal or internal intercostal. The external intercostal muscles are present between the ribs at outside. That's why they are called external intercostal muscles. The contraction of the external intercostal muscles lifting the ribs as well as sternum to the upward. So when the sternum and ribs are lifting up, what happens? The entire rib cage moves upward, forward, outwards direction. So when the rib cage is lifting up, dorsoventral area increases. Dorsoventral area increases. The second muscles are phrenic muscles, which are present in a diaphragm. Diaphragm present in a dome shape. Diaphragm present in a dome shape. Because of the contraction in the phrenic muscles, the dome-shaped diaphragm becomes flat. When the diaphragm becomes flat, the anterior-posterior area increases. Means because of the external intercostal muscles contraction, dorsoventral area increasing. Because of the diaphragm muscles contraction, anterior-posterior area increases. Means overall the area of thoracic chamber increases. The entire area of thoracic chamber increases. When thoracic chamber area increases, naturally pulmonary volume also increases. The volume in the lungs also increases. When the pulmonary volume increases, naturally pressure decreases in the lungs. Intrapulmonary pressure decreases. When the intrapulmonary pressure in the lungs decreases because of the negative pressure, the atmospheric air enters into the lungs. Okay? This is the process of inspiration. Okay, guys? Right. Next, we discuss about expiration. What is expiration? Releasing of alveolar air to the exterior is called as expiration. Here, expiration is called as a passive process. Why? Because here muscles getting relaxed. The muscles which are contracted during the inspiration, that muscles are getting relaxed during the expiration. So no energy is required for the expiration. That's why it is called as a passive process. Here what happens? Due to the relaxation of the external intercostal muscles, the ribs and sternum comes to the normal position. Means they are getting downside. So when the rib cage is moving downside, dorsoventral area decreases. The second muscles, diaphragm muscles getting relaxed. Means phrenic muscles are getting relaxed. Then the flattened diaphragm becomes dome shape. So anterior posterior area decreases. So dorsoventral area decreases, anterior posterior area also decreases. So overall the thoracic chamber volume decreases because of the relaxation of these muscles. Then the pulmonary volume also naturally decreases. When the volume is decreases, naturally intrapulmonary pressure increases. Intrapulmonary pressure increases. When volume decreases, pressure increases. then internal air is expelled to the outside. From the lungs and alveoli, the air is coming outside. This process is called expiration. Okay guys? Right. Now we discuss about diagrammatic explanation of inspiration and expiration. Okay? This is inspiration. Here what happens, the rib cage along with the sternum moved upward direction. The dome-shaped diaphragm becomes flat. The dome-shaped diaphragm becomes flat. So the dorsoventral area increases, anterior-posterior area also increases. So thoracic cavity volume increases, in the lungs also volume increases, naturally pressure decreases. That's why outside air enters into the lungs. Okay? Outside air enters into the lungs because of the low pressure inside of the lungs. This is called inspiration. This is expiration. The ribs are getting down because of the relaxation of the external intercostal muscles. The intercostal muscles are present between the lungs. Because of the relaxation of the muscles, the sternum and ribs are comes to downward direction. The diaphragm muscles also getting relaxed. That's why they becomes dome shaped. So dorsoventral area decreases, anterior posterior area also decreases. So in the lungs, pressure increases. When the pressure is increases, inside air is expelled to the outside. Okay, have a look.